welcome to the Game Over Man Retro Video Game Podcast. This week we've got 3 awesome reviews, one coming from Rick, one coming from Liam, and one coming from Emily. So, grab yourself a lemonade, put your feet up, and enjoy.
Entaro Adun, podcast listeners. Executor Rick here. Join me as I review Starcraft.
Hello everybody, yes, it's Rick here, and I'm going to review Starcraft. Now, growing up as a kid, I was a console guy. I had a Game Boy, Mega Drive and a PlayStation in that order. PC gaming was something that eluded me, because we didn't really have a proper family PC. It was sort of later on that my dad decided to get a Mac for the family, which was amazing, and it had some amazing software on it for video editing and editing images and early days of Photoshop and stuff, and I wasn't interested in any of it. It barely had any games on it. I was so disappointed. Even things like MSN Messenger were a pain in the ass to run. It was a depressing time. All of my friends at school were stealing music on Napster, and yeah, there weren't many games out there. And the Mac store was somewhere in like Alfreton, in like North Derbyshire. It was a fair trek away. It wasn't the kind of thing you could walk in to the high street to a game shop and buy Mac games. They generally just weren't stocked anywhere. But one day I went along with my dad. I don't even know why he'd gone to the Mac store, and I was browsing the shelves while we were there, and there was this cool looking game in there called Starcraft in this awesome box.
You must construct additional pylons.
That had aliens on the front of it, and it just looked so cool. And so I asked him if I could have it, because I had a grand total of 0 games on the Mac. I think I just survived off demos of stuff that I think he got with like a Mac magazine. At this point, I hadn't got my hands on an RTS that I actually owned. So Starcraft was probably the first RTS I actually owned that wasn't just a demo, and oh my god, it was amazing. The campaign was brilliant. Something that you may notice in a lot of other RTS games is you've got 2 different factions warring against each other. It was brilliant to have 3 different factions to choose between. Getting all of those real-time strategy units to balance between them is nothing short of an amazing feat.
You must construct additional pylons.
The fact that all 3 of the Starcraft races were so well balanced meant the game had such appeal for multiplayer skirmish, and it became recognised as the biggest game in South Korea, and it's monumental in terms of the growth of esports. So, what factions did you have? First of all, you had the Terrans, who were your generic spacefaring humans, but they were really cool. It's a mark of success when the human faction is interesting in a game like this, I think. And the Terrans were awesome because they had buildings that could move around and float and stuff like that. Not fast, but if you want to reposition your base, you could do it on the fly by moving your buildings. Their vehicles are some of the most badass in all of real-time strategy. The tank that could become a siege tank, where it could basically plant itself and get a badass long-range cannon. Maybe the best tank in any real-time strategy game. It makes the mammoth tank look shit. Even the apocalypse tank pales in comparison. And also the battle cruisers. They had these huge ships that effectively had like a giant freaking laser. Huge, they were bigger than any other unit. Once you pumped out a bunch of those, the enemy was in trouble. Then you had the Zerg, who were like aliens or Tyranids. All of their units were organic. Even their buildings and everything basically came from these sort of like tiny little eggs that then wander off and they kind of mutate into whatever they're needed to become. So it was the idea that they were seeking genetic perfection, and they would assimilate other beings into their sort of hive, and they could sort of lean on whatever genetic needs they had to make whatever soldiers they needed. So they didn't have any vehicles at all. All of their stuff was organic, and the health of all their units would regenerate over time. They're also infamous for spawning a term that I think is still used in esports and stuff today, of zerging the enemy. And that's because the smallest unit they had was a little creature called a zergling. They were just these little shits that would just go and melee stuff. And if you got enough of them, particularly early game in Starcraft skirmish, you could potentially wipe out the enemy before they'd even managed to build enough defences if you just hammered them with zerglings. Really great, enjoyable race. And then lastly is the Protoss race, who were sort of psychically attuned badasses. If you think of like a clean-cut Predator, like Predator but without... You know how Predator's kind of a wanker in that Predator's like, oh, I'm gonna honourably hunt some prey, but actually I'm just gonna stand invisible and shoot them with a cannon. And they don't know it, and then if they actually kill me, I'm going to blow everyone up because I'm a cunt. So all their units get a shield that kind of regenerates quickly in terms of their health. So they usually end up with like half of a shield and half of actual just health. So their health wouldn't regenerate, but all the shields do on their buildings and their units, every unit from their basic foot soldier. And that's another thing, they were a quality over quantity that's directly opposed to the general Zerg units, which were just pure quantity, however many you could pump out, and the Terrans were somewhere in between. So the story campaign is actually really good. It sort of starts out just seeming like your standard humans versus two different aliens kind of scenario. And I've heard it said that Starcraft was actually originally intended to be a Warhammer RTS.
You must construct additional pylons.
So you may see some parallels between Space Marines, Tyranids, and Eldar. And Dark Eldar as well. So initially the story doesn't seem like much cop, but it actually gets really interesting, and the campaign is incredible. Each of the races got their own campaign, so in terms of your value for money, you've got loads of missions to play through. So as a kid, I was just amazed by how much depth there was in the game.
You must construct additional pylons.
Then after I played the campaign for a while, I realised that you could play skirmishes. And oh my god, the AI was good in this game. Starting out, having never played RTSs before, I got crushed by the enemy computer time after time. I slowly got a bit better at the game, learned how to manage the resources and build defences quickly, and yeah, just hammering the AI and putting them on harder settings was great. I never actually played against human opponents because well, I'm not even sure there would have been anyone to play against on the Mac.
You must construct additional pylons.
I don't know if it was cross-platform, it might have been, but I don't really know, and the time has passed, unfortunately.
You must construct additional pylons.
I then really fell down the rabbit hole of Starcraft when I realised that you could import your own maps. There was a map editor, so you could create your own, so I had a go at creating my own for multiplayer skirmishes. Then I discovered there were fan-made sites where people would publish their own map creations, and these got more detailed and more intricate, and some of the maps made were incredible, to the point that people even made RPG campaigns using the Starcraft maps and the models, the units that you can generate in the game. The level of creativity within the community was amazing. It just meant that you got so much longevity out of the game itself. It was infinitely replayable. Given that I'm back on an RTS binge, I've also realised that Blizzard actually remastered Starcraft back in 2017, and I believe it's a fair bit better than the Warcraft 3 remaster that they released to universal hatred.
You must construct additional pylons.
It even has a version that you can purchase for the Carbot animations, where there's sort of like cutesy Starcraft animations. Check those out if you never have, because they're really funny. And the idea of being able to play skirmishes with that texture setting on just sounds like a load of fun to me. And if you don't want to fork out money for the remastered version, you can actually pick up the original version without any of the updates from the Blizzard forums. I'm sure you can find it with a Google search. The fact that you can get the game for free is amazing. So go out there and grab it. Let's have a few online games. Bring it, people. Have we got any hardcore Starcraft players? What was your favourite race? Terran, Zerg, or Protoss? I was a big fan of the Protoss myself. Anyway, thanks for listening. See you online, maybe.
It's Liam again with another review straight from the toilet while I have a poo. That is correct. I am going to be reviewing another game which we all love, or we all hate, or we didn't really understand what the hell was going on with this game, but we played it anyway because we was childish, we were stupid, and it was just downright gross. Today I'm going to be talking about Booger, a pick and flick adventure. That's right. Booger was how can you say it? It was a crazy, bizarre, weird game which appeared a lot on Games Master. It was a side scroller. The graphics were pretty damn good. I mean, the artwork was insanely good. But for you guys who haven't played it, it was basically a game where you picked and flicked bogeys. You could fart on people, you could burp on people, and that's basically what it was. It was released originally on the Mega Drive, I believe. I'm sure I had it on the Mega Drive, and I'm sure it was released. Yeah, it was the Mega Drive. Again, it's always in the same time of the year of when I was at school. So it would have been about 1994 on the Mega Drive, and I know they released it straight after in 1995 Well, 1995, I was just going to say a year later or 2 years later after the Mega Drive on the SNES. For some reason, wasn't as good. I don't know why, but it wasn't. The Mega Drive version was really good and the SNES one wasn't. And then they re-released it on the Wii, which a lot of people don't know, which was around, again, 2010, 2008, 2009, around that time, because I remember buying it. Well, I remember getting it for Christmas on my Wii. So the review on this, I decided to do this because Earthworm Jim was the last review that I did. Boogerman was basically a rival to my favourite cartoon and computer game character, Earthworm Jim. Also, it was, I don't know if he was, I'm pretty sure Boogerman was in Clay Fighter. I am not sure on this, but maybe I've dreamt that, but I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure that Boogerman was on Clay Fighter, or there was something to do with Boogerman and Clay Fighter. I mean, please comment below, please message us and let me know, because some of my computer game history knowledge is not as good as ye old young'un jump cancel Dean Collins, master of the Wikipedia of computer games. So yeah, please let us know, and I'll be interested to have a chat about it. So we're going to go straight into it. Basically, Boogerman I'm pretty sure he was fighting against a professor called Stinkbum, I think his name was. And see, most of the game, all of the levels and everything is based on gross things and silly little names and things to get kids excited with. I mean, I remember the world was called Tiki Dump, which was, I'm pretty sure, was inside of a toilet. But again, this is such a long time since I played the game. And you basically tried to stop the professor from creating all these angry bogies and angry little goblins that came out, and you just basically had to stop him. So that's basically the game. I remember there was a giant arm. The professor basically opened a portal, and this giant snot arm from the planet was called Snotrium, I think. Yeah, I'm definitely sure it's Snotrium, or it was Snotty. It was something like that. Yeah, basically you just had to stop them, and that was the aim of the game. Flicking bogies, burping, farting, spitting, doing what you can in the most disgusting way possible. And like Mario going down the pipes, you would go down a toilet. I remember there was also a game pack that came out, and they play tested this. I'm pretty sure it was on Games Master, but there was a pack. So again, please let me know in the comments below, because I've actually searched the internet for this pack, because I actually wanted to own one. I've never owned one of these things before. So basically, it was a pack that you put on and vibrated across your body. So every time you puked up, it vibrated on your chest. Every time you burped, the vibration went up your chest, like you was doing a burp. Every time you farted, the back of your back vibrated. So you would play around, burping, farting with this vibration pack. And I'm pretty sure it was actually, I don't know if it was just made for Boogerman, but it was like one of those Laser Quest backpacks that you put on so you can fart, burp in real life while playing a game. So the game really had a massive reception, and a lot of people, they put a lot of money into it, but it actually didn't make as much money as they thought. So Earthworm Jim, obviously, this was like the rival to Earthworm Jim. This game didn't make as much as they planned, and that basically backfired on them, and I don't think there was any more Boogermans. But I remember, so the reason I brought this up is because I backed this on Kickstarter for, there was a HD sequel for Boogerman, and they managed to get 375,000 to get the game released, and they did release the game along with Clay Fighters 63.5. And yeah, so it was, it was good. It didn't really make much after that. I mean, I remember the Kickstarter was actually cancelled, even though they made that much money. It just wasn't enough to get the game re-released, even though the Earthworm Jim on Kickstarter did and smashed it. This didn't. It wasn't as good as the amazing Earthworm Jim. And in all honesty, they knew from the get-go that Boogerman was going to be in Earthworm Jim's shadow. The game itself is really good. The graphics are fucking fantastic. The music's pretty good. The gameplay was alright. The gameplay was a bit like Mick and Mac, the McDonald's adventure. Or yeah, it was Mick and Mac, not Mac and Mac. I always get those two mixed up. but it was just like that. It was a bit clunky. Like it was quite difficult to do. It was like the Lion King as well, when you like jump in and you can't really see the platform because they put that much detail into the game. You kind of can't judge where you're going, and it made the game really difficult to play. The music, again, the music was good. It's nothing memorable like some of the other games that I've reviewed, but the music was good. It was okay. Just your basic standard, box standard Mega Drive game. The gameplay, again, was okay. The graphics was top notch, but there was too much graphics in there. The game itself was, I'm going to give it an average of, I'm going to give it a 7, which appears to be the average across the board, if I'm totally honest. Looking at reviews, it averaged around 6 to 8 out of 10 on pretty much all of the gaming reviews when it was released. So it was, yeah, unfortunately, Earthworm Jim gives Booger Man a good old slap round the chops. Groovy! So unfortunately, Booger Man, you are getting a nice 7 out of 10. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the little chat about Booger Man. Again, if you want to chat to me about any of the games that I review, please let me know. Have a good day, and let me just flush this massive poo that I've just finished after my review. Ta-da!
I'd been assigned to watch over biologics research team, so I once again found myself on the surface of SR-388. It was there that I was attacked by a life form I had never encountered before. It was only later that I learned the identity of my attacker, the parasitic organism we now know as Liam. Unaware of my condition, I was returning to the station when disaster struck. Once Liam had infested my central nervous system, I lost consciousness and my ship drifted into an asteroid belt. The ship's emergency systems automatically ejected the escape pod before impact. Biologics vessel recovered it and transported me to Galactic Federation HQ. However, during the journey, Liam multiplied within me, corrupting large areas of my power suit. It then came to light that the organic components of my power suit had become so integrated with my system that it could not be removed while I was unconscious. Large portions of my suit had to be surgically removed, dramatically altering my physical appearance. However, Liam was too embedded to my central nervous system to be removed safely. I was given a minimal chance of survival. Then, someone found a cure. They proposed using an Allen cell to make an anti-Liam vaccine. It seems that the Federation had managed to preserve a cell culture from the last infant, Allen, from SR-388. The serum was prepared and injected without delay. Liam was immediately and completely destroyed. As for me, one life ended, yet I survived, reborn as something different. Pondering this fact, I realize I owe the Allen hatchling my life twice over. Forever indebted.
You'll find the king on Prestige.
Hello everybody, my name is Emily, also known as DizzyBess, and I'm going to be talking to you today about a game that is very close to my heart. It is a JRPG, and it is set in different Disney worlds, and you are accompanied by Donald and Goofy, or you can switch one of those out for another Disney character of your choice. If you haven't already guessed, the game I am talking about is the Kingdom Hearts series. This is a very odd little game that came out on the PS2, and I say little, it is now huge, as it is on game like 13 now, so it's by no means little, but at the time it was an odd choice to stick Final Fantasy Japanese characters into Disney worlds, but somehow they did make it work. And it came about because the director was someone who worked on a Final Fantasy game and designed some characters for those games, and so they wanted to do their own thing and were able to use the Final Fantasy characters, and they set them in Disney worlds. And it works. I don't know why it works. I don't know how it works. But there's a kind of magic that Kingdom Hearts has that very few other games have outside of like Disney properties. I guess the Disney element might be the thing I'm talking about. But it at the time of the game's releasing, it was very confusing, and so a lot of people were not sure what the story was for a while. And the reason the story was so confusing, it's not as now that all the games can be bought in big bundles, but at the time they were for some reason being released on various different consoles. So the first game was released on PS1, and then the second game, which nobody really realised was the second game, people thought it was a spin-off called Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, that was released on the Game Boy. And so because people thought it was a spin-off, they didn't buy it and didn't realise that there's actually key story elements within that game. And so when Kingdom Hearts 2 arrived on PlayStation 2, that was very confusing because, well, this is the second game of the series, but why is there lots of big things missing, big story elements missing? And so, yeah, it was a bit confusing. And the numbering system, don't even get me started on the numbering system. Like, it took 12 years for Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out, but there were like loads of games in between there. Don't worry, don't panic. If it is a game series that you would like to get into, or you played it a long time ago and have never managed to pick it back up again because of how many games there were, you can now buy bundles to play them all in one place, and usually they're on sale at the moment. I say at the moment, they're usually on sale at random points in the year. Almost any time I look, they're on sale, and I managed to get them, like, it was 12 games for like £21 or something ridiculous like that. That is a bargain. If you're able to like pick it up on sale, I would definitely recommend it, because how many game series or how many games can you buy 12 games for £20 and get good quality? Like Kingdom Hearts, you do get good quality for it, because not only are there multiple games, but the story, although I said earlier it was confusing, it's not too confusing once you're actually playing the games. It's notorious for having been confusing, but that is down to the way it was released more than anything, I feel. And so if you're able to get the bundle, play them. They are so much fun. each of them different. There are some games that have different kind of mechanics. So Chain of Memories has a card playing system rather than the real-time RPG elements. So yeah, it's got different things to offer, and different people love different games for different reasons, and they're all really good fun and different Disney worlds, so it's not always the same place, and even if it is the same place, they often look very different, so there's always something new in the different games and lots of different elements to kind of look on. So I've spoken enough about the series as a whole. What do you actually do in a Kingdom Hearts game? Well, we'll go back to the first one because that's the one that I played first on the PlayStation 2. I was about 6 or 7, and I remember my dad sort of handed it to me and was like, "You'll like this, it's Disney." So yeah, I didn't play it too often, and I was terrible as a child at actually completing games, so I never finished it until I was at university. But it's a game where you start on a little island, just like, as you do, learning mechanics and stuff. And one day the island is consumed by darkness, and you and your friends are just disappeared off, and you wake up in a strange place without your friends, and so the entire game you spend looking for your friends, and you go to various different Disney worlds, and you are accompanied by Donald and Goofy. As strange as it sounds, it does work, I promise. And you can change the AI on Donald and Goofy. That is a key point that I have to keep telling people. They are not useless if you change the AI to how you want it. But they're there for support more than anything. They are not there to, they're there to keep you alive. They're not really there to do major important damage or anything like that. But yeah, so you go around with Donald and Goofy, you go to lots of different Disney worlds, and you're searching for your friends. It's a very heartwarming story, and you will cry at some point during a Kingdom Hearts game. One of the games will get you, I promise. Let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of the game, because as you can imagine, PS2, not the best for the mechanics, for this game at least. For Kingdom Hearts 2, which was also on the PS2, a lot better mechanics, but for the first one, all I'm going to say is the jumping is horrible. There's not a huge amount of platforming in this game, and I'm so glad that there isn't a huge amount, but there is enough, and you can get very stuck very easily, so I will just warn you about that. The battle mechanics are very easy. You press X and you swing your Keyblade, which is your weapon. You've also got magic elements, you've got items you can use, and you can set those all to different buttons and different key combinations, so it's not going in through the menu and having to scroll as much as you'd think. And then so that's while you're on the Disney worlds, but you have to get to the Disney worlds, and so there are little mini games in a way in between the worlds where you are in what is called a gummy ship. Now, the gummy ship is just basically a spaceship, and you fly through space, shooting rocks, shooting enemy ships, until you arrive at your destination. Once you get to a certain level, you get warp speed, so you don't have to keep doing that. There's mixed reviews on the gummy ship, and it's done differently in different games. Some people love the gummy ships, some people hate them. The Kingdom Hearts 1 gummy ship, I wouldn't say is great. It wasn't until I figured out how to actually customize it that I started to enjoy it a little bit more. But it can be a little bit tedious, and it can be a bit of a pain to figure out how to do things with it. So it's definitely a good thing once you get that warp ability to get that as soon as possible. But yeah, I'll leave that up to you to decide whether that is something that you do enjoy about the game or not. Unfortunately, it is in there and is not optional, so that is unfortunate, but it's not a huge part of the game. You kind of forget about it until you have to do it again, and then you're like, oh god damn it, and it doesn't usually last longer than like 3 minutes, so it's over pretty quickly. But yeah, and then character wise, you play as Sora, who is a completely original character for this series, and you're looking for your friends Riku and Kairi. I wish Kairi actually did something. That's my biggest gripe about the series, is even when they kind of like promised like hinted at her doing something more. She ends up not really. They don't know what to do with Kairi more often than not. She tends to just be the damsel in distress, which it's one of my biggest disappointments about the series. I really wish they would do something more with her, and maybe moving forward they'll find something finally for her to do. But yeah, and then you've got Riku, who is the actual main character, but the writers are too afraid to actually admit it. I have had many discussions about how Riku is actually the main character and should be the one you're playing as instead of Sora, but there you go. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you are also a Kingdom Hearts fan, if you also have similar feelings about Sora and Riku, or if you completely disagree, that is also fine. But yeah, so that is Kingdom Hearts, very dear to my heart. I love all of the games in different ways and not necessarily equally. There are some I obviously love more than others, but the series as a whole is so good and holds a very special place in my heart, and I feel very blessed that I got a chance to actually play the original game on the PlayStation 2. But the one thing about playing it on a PlayStation 4 or 5 or whatever, you can actually skip the cutscenes, which you can't do in the original. So there's that element as well. But yeah, that's Kingdom Hearts. Thank you. I think I'd give, if I was going to give it a rating, probably for the first game, no, for the series overall, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It's not perfect, there are some big flaws with it, but overall it is a really, really good series, and it is nowhere near done, and I'm very excited to see where it goes in the future. So thank you guys, and I shall see you later. Bye!
Well, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please click subscribe in your favourite podcast app. We are on Spotify, we are on iTunes, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. We are on lots of things, so please come and search for us, find us, join in the conversation, join in the fun. Please come and tell us what you thought of the show. Please come and ask us questions. Please come and give us critiques. Tell us that we're shit. We don't mind as long as you come and tell us something, because that's the way we improve, and that's the way for you to be involved in the show. If you like watching Twitch streams, then please go and check out Rick. He is ostentatious. Liam is the gaming Numpty, and Emily is DizzyBess. They're all fantastic and really good at streaming, so please go and give them a subscribe. So yeah, one thing I found disturbing about the show is Emily saying she was 6 or 7 years old and playing on a PlayStation 2. Gosh, that just makes me feel old. I remember when the PlayStation 2 came out, I remember buying one with my wages, and I don't remember Kingdom Hearts, because I saw Kingdom Hearts as a Disney game, and I was a lad. Lads don't play Disney games. Lads play FIFA. I think we all know who missed out in that scenario, don't we? Because I don't think Emily missed out on FIFA. I might have to drag the old PS2 out and buy myself a copy of Kingdom Hearts, just to see what it's all about. I had no idea Final Fantasy was involved in that. Not a dickie. Oh yeah, and Liam was right about the Booger Man and Clay Fighter tie-in. Boogerman was actually in Clayfire 63 and a third, I think it's called, which was released on the N64. The game was fucking shite. What other notes have I got about the show? Oh, that's about it, really. Stellar show, guys. Stellar show. So yeah, I'll leave you with that, and love you, bye.